Hello everyone and welcome back to American Civil War and UK History and the Unfiltered Historian, and we are here on the Sunken Road, and I am going to hand you over to the capable hands of Tyler McGraw.
Well, thank you so much, Darren, for the capable hands there. I do something with my hands.
Yeah, well, Chuck's tea in the Rappahannock apparently.
Anyways, guys, welcome to the last segment of our Fredericksburg 159. It has been an awesome day. We have had some really cool experiences. Some were live, some were recorded, some were not. Some were just things Darren and I got to do today. I'm glad you guys got to see the Innis House of all things. That was a very unique experience. It makes up for the church steeple not being visited today, which I do apologize about. But let's look right quick over here while we're here. That is Brompton. That is the John H. Marye house. John H. Marye is going to own that house, and that's where we get the namesake Marye's Heights, okay? And a lot of the times, folks that come to visit this park think the entire shelf-like ridge here is known as Marye's Heights, and actually it's not. Just this portion here is known as Marye's Heights. The other portion, saved by the wonderful CVBT, stands for Central Virginia Battlefield Trust. They saved Willis Hill for us. There was a academy up there at one point called Mumford Academy that was quite an eyesore on this battlefield, and because of people like the CVBT, that has been destroyed, and the battlefield has started to retain his 1862 appearance. Much like the road we're on today in 2004, I personally remember with my father walking on this road, actually over here with a sort of fence right here. Well, this was a paved road, and we were actually having to dodge cars at one point. So to see this restored to its 1862 appearance is just absolutely amazing. Let's talk about what we came here to talk about. This right here. So we saw the attacks that take place at the Slaughter Pen Farm, at Prospect Hill, and places like that, but we haven't visited the most namesake part of the battlefield, the Sunken Road, the stone wall. This is not a recreation. This portion right here is the actual stone wall that the soldiers, the Confederate soldiers, would have been standing behind, firing onto 7 separate assaults of Union attacks throughout the day of December 13th. Now, Fredericksburg in its own right is just a wild story, and this is a part of the story I am extremely familiar with from my tenure as an intern here at the Park Service some years back. I spent a lot of time talking and giving tours of the Sunken Road. It was about 35 minutes at a time, and those are some of the best 35 minutes I've ever spent, because I tell you, not a single tour was the same. I learned something new quite a bit throughout a lot of my tours, and one thing that I have always kept with me is just the human side of this story here. We have a man over here depicted in a monument known as Richard Kirkland. I've talked a little bit about him on a podcast before, but I figured it'd be interesting to dive in a little deeper to Kirkland. After the battle quiets down a bit, and I say quiets down like muskets, cannon, the battlefield isn't silent. There are men laying prostrate on that field, begging for water, wounded, freezing to death, miserable. These men are on the field in front of Marye's Heights and Willis Hill in the Sunken Road. And for 19-year-old Richard Kirkland, it's a little bit too much for him to bear. He's going to ask permission from Joseph B. Kershaw, the commanding officer of the Sunken Road at the time. We know it started out as Thomas Reed Roots Cobb, or Thomas R.R. Cobb, not Railroad Cobb. It is Reed Roots. That's a little joke, an inside joke here. But Thomas Cobb is going to be taken out a little early, and deviating to Thomas Cobb for a second. His paternal grandmother owns Federal Hill at one point, and it's quite possible the shell that burst inside of the Stevens house came from his paternal grandmother's home here in Fredericksburg. After Thomas Cobb is taken off, he's wounded, his femoral artery is severed. He's taken close to where Lee's position is on Telegraph Hill and will ultimately die from his wounds. The tourniquet wasn't tied tight enough. Kershaw is ending up here at the Sunken Road in command at the end of the day. Well, Kirkland decides that he can't bear this anymore. I don't think it's really a decision. It's inhuman to sit here and hear those sounds of another human suffering so severely. And so Kirkland is going to ask permission to take as many canteens as he possibly can, scale this wall, and start to aid his enemy laying out in the fields surrounding the Sunken Road. Initially, Kirkland tells him, I can't authorize that, but if you wish to do so, you can. Something to that effect. And Kirkland is noted to do this. I'm not saying definitively he does, but I'm also saying that there is this act witnessed by many soldiers. So the story goes that Kirkland is going to go across the wall grab the head of a Union soldier, give him water, and move on to the next, and on to the next, and aiding his enemy. It's a very popular story of Fredericksburg. He's given the name the Angel of Marye's Heights, and he's memorialized here in stone. Felix Day Weldon will sculpt that wonderful monument that we have here on the battlefield, depicting the Angel of Marye's Heights. But what was Fredericksburg like? What was this battle like for the men? Well, we know, as we're moving forward here, we're going to talk about the bloody plain, 900 yards of open ground that these troops have to cross in order to get to the Confederate position here, which is a bulwark of a position, mind you. It's fortress-like. We're on a decently sized hill. The Confederates have a great fortification. I wouldn't say it's natural, it's definitely man-made, but we're in a sunken road. Not all of this road is sunken either. You'll notice that this is the only wall that's really portraying a retaining wall. It's retaining the ground from caving in, if you will. But if you look up ahead, there's two pieces of the wall there. Those are 2004 and 2006 reconstructions to show that some of this wall was a partition. It was a property divider. If you've lived on that side of the road, this being a very heavily traveled road, it's almost like your I-95 or your Route 3 if you're from the area here. This is known as the Telegraph Road. It is frequently traveled on, hence why this part is sunken from years and years of travel. You didn't want horses and people deviating into your yard, so you put up a wall. It's like, you know, when you go down the highway and there's houses and apartments and you have these huge sound barriers.
And am I right in saying this went from Richmond to Washington?
Telegraph Road did, yes. The stone wall.
Yep.
And probably
no, not the stone wall, but yeah, this was the route, yeah?
Correct.
And Fredericksburg is how many miles between Richmond and... It's, what is it, 50 miles each?
It's not really exactly 50, but...
Yeah.
It's 47 to D.C., if I remember correctly, from, well, at least from my old front door, it used to be to get into Washington when I was working there. Yeah, about 47. But we can say definitively it does sit halfway between Richmond and Washington. That's probably a better route. But here we go. Let's take a look on this for a second. We're going to go down towards Stratton House. I'm not going to go all the way down just for the service's sake. Last time we went down there, it decided that it was going to cut off on me. But I want to show you guys sort of the swale. I want to show you some of the Union positions here. So you'll notice, I'm going to use my pointer finger here. There's a stop sign down there, and there's a dip in the ground. That is your swale. So let me get in front of the camera here to talk. That swale right there is some of the last pieces of defensible ground for the Union troops assaulting this position on December 13th. Another feature that we still have today is that brick building you see just behind me, known as the Stratton House. That is also another feature Union soldiers will huddle behind and Confederate artillery will train themselves on in order to stop the Union troops from advancing any closer. And it works because the closest Union soldier to fall here is about roughly 150 yards away from this position here. Now today you can't really get a feel for the openness, the bloody plain per se, because it's littered with houses in post-World War II development. It's the urban sprawl that we talk about encroaching on all these battlefields. And this is what happens when it does encroach and completely wipes out the visual integrity of a 900-yard open field. The closest you get to it is even going to Gettysburg, if you think about it. You look at Pickett's charge, you can envision the open fields. You kind of can see the battle happening in front of your eyes. Earlier today at Slaughter Pen, Darren and I were talking about Gibbon's attack, and we were talking about the lines moving into the railroad. We were talking about Meade moving over into the breakthrough. And you can almost visualize that because you have some visual integrity. Here you don't have that. So we have to use a little bit more, I wouldn't say imagination, but more of a mind and a trained eye to really see that. And one thing I like doing is looking at the swale. And you can see that here. You can see some of the tires, how they disappear when the road sort of dips down. So if you could picture that and follow it, now of course the road pretty much obliterated the integrity of that piece of the swale. Now there are quite a few alleyways lining Little Page Street that actually haven't been touched, and I mean, you saw it when we drove by it. It is a significant dip in the ground. It's not just a gentle little slope that you see on some of these portions of Little Page, like in front of us here. So it adds to the, okay, they have a little bit of protection, but we know people like William McCarter, who has about 46 bullets shaken out of his blanket when he falls wounded. He lays down, his blanket's just a little bit above the swale, and when he shakes that out in the field hospital, 46 or even more bullets fall out of that blanket. Can you just imagine if his back was a little elevated? I mean, that swale was a make or break for some of these men. And
what else were they contending with coming across there?
So there's another obstacle. Let's go down to this painting here, so that'll help us a little bit. There's a canal ditch, 10 feet wide, 6 feet deep. Union engineers at the beginning of the battle, right before the shots are fired, they're actually going to do their best to drain, probably 3 feet of that, because only 3 feet of standing water is left at the time of the assault. But that's a hell of an obstacle, because the Union troops that are engaging with the Confederates here have to now navigate through a canal. These troops now have to navigate artillery fire from the heights trained into the canal so that the Union troops that are coming are going to be obliterated. There's no bridge crossings to get across this canal either. There's a few ropes and stringers left. The Confederates pulled up any type of crossing that they could have had in order to effectively fire. They also established firing posts. And what I mean by firing posts is they actually set up markers in the field that would denote when to fire the artillery, how to fire, and what to fire. So what shell to fire, what type of ammunition you're using, and when to shoot. There's also an implementation on the road when it comes to the musket fire. The Army actually using a line system, if you will. Think about a relay race where you pass a musket up front and the Confederate's going to fire that gun, and as soon as he turns around to hand a unloaded musket to the man behind him, he's traded out with another fully loaded musket. That adds somewhere to the effect of about 10,000 rounds a minute being fired throughout the duration of the Battle of Fredericksburg. Not only did it see on the Sunken Road, but even towards the southern end of the battlefield as well, at Prospect Hill and Slaughter Farm. This is a murderous battle. We're not doing well when it comes to some of the communications that are taking place, especially on that southern end that we learned earlier. But to close out today, we're going to take a walk through the top of Willis Hill to see some of the artillery positions there. I'm going to show some battle damage that's up on the hill. There's actually a shell hole in one of the walls. I don't think I've even shown you that. I told you about that yet.
No, you didn't. That was a surprise. Surprise!
There's a huge shell hole in a cemetery post from the old Willis family cemetery up there on the hill that you can still see to this day. And we can walk right up to it and literally touch it. You see it. So I'm not going to encourage touching it, but definitely check it out. Now, I should add that we saw Brompton earlier from the Sunken Road. It is not in park property. Unfortunately, that is in private hands. So it's sad to say the Park Service didn't get it, and maybe one day that could change. I don't think it's going to anytime soon, unfortunately, and it does suck that it's in private hands, because that would be a national treasure for us all to have. But what we do have, I am thankful for, because obviously we've talked about it. Fredericksburg wasn't really a safe battlefield. We lost a lot of the visuals. You're going to hear me out of breath as we go up this hill, because this is a heck of a hill to walk up. Now,
it certainly is.
A soldier having to do this under fire. It's not the most ideal. Darren, what do you think about all this, man?
I'm just overwhelmed by it all,
You're
to be
overwhelmed.
fair, yeah.
I think that's a very good place.
Yeah. And I'm also, at the moment, thinking about, because the sun's gone, yeah? So
It's a little chilly now, huh?
the temperature has dropped dramatically.
Significantly, yeah.
And again, I keep pointing it out, it's a warm day like today was, and so the soldiers, or the Union soldiers that are coming up that hill, discard their coats.
Right.
Because they're too warm.
Myself. I mean, I put my sleeves back.
And as we know, they get stuck out there tonight.
Yeah.
And it's going to be cold,
Incredibly cold.
you know, so that adds to their agony
Sure does.
and pain, and, you know, it's horrible.
You know, all throughout today, I've had just an incredible experience being able to walk with you and talk to you, Darren, and all you guys too at home watching these videos that we put out. But it's again humbling, if you will, because you're understanding a story that I've told this many times, especially when I was giving tours here, or just blogging about it, writing about it, whatever it may have been. And to be able to sit here and continue to share the story and learn new things today. We were able to go to the Innes house, go inside and talk about the bullet holes. We were able to have our own personal experience up top, Darren, you know what I mean? So that's it changes how I view the battle again. And this happens multiple times, whether it's a year, monthly, whatever. I find something new, I latch onto it, and the battle becomes anew to me. And it never gets old. And I do this because I want you guys to be a part of that. And I'm so glad that you're able to be. So thank you so much for joining into the 159th Fredericksburg as we walk to conclude our event today. We are still going strong with our walk, so we're not out of the woods yet, so to speak.
We started our day, ladies and gentlemen, at 6 a.m. this morning, and we haven't been home since.
No, we dropped the car off briefly, but
Yeah, a schoolboy error, you know. But hey, you live and learn. But
it wasn't an error. I think it worked out just fine because we got to go into the Innes house.
Mm-hmm.
See, we talked about how things, are meant to happen, man. I think a lot of today is meant to go the way it did. If we didn't go do that car, how would we know the Innes house was going to be open for a second?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we were able to...
I'm starting to get goosebumps now, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll tell you why, because I'm going to turn the camera a little bit, because now I'm starting to understand why they wanted to be up here with artillery.
Is this your first time up here?
No, I did come up here in 2006,
Okay.
but I didn't understand it properly at the time, and I didn't have the Unfiltered historian with me.
Well, again, we are heading to the Confederate artillery.
We do have a question from Todd Rhodes, actually. He says, where was Burnside during the assault on the Sunken Road?
Good.
Is it clear he knew how badly the attacks were failing?
It is, because we do have him saying that either the next day or the night of, he wanted to lead that last assault himself. So obviously he knew that they were not going so well. Burnside has been taking up the headquarters at a place known as the Phillips House, a mile behind Chatham Manor. But if memory serves me correctly, he is actually watching the battle from the back of Chatham Manor, or the front, whatever you want to call it these days, the riverside of Chatham. He's able to view into town. I showed Darren too while we were out there. It's really interesting to see. But if you look at out at Chatham and you look into the distance, kind of where one of the hotels are in town, you'll actually see the cemetery flagpole, and that denotes where the cemetery is. And of course, some of these buildings that are here today, sorry for interrupting the video, some of those buildings and just things that are around Fredericksburg weren't there in 1862 to impede that view. So he could have seen clear up to the attacks from Chatham. Maybe not so much at the Phillips House, but I do think Chatham would have been.
I've just got a question to answer. So it's from Mike Oliver. He just says, first trip to America, Darren Rawlings. No, this is my third trip to Virginia. I came here in 2006 and 2007. But as America as a whole, I have been to Florida twice as well. But that doesn't count. Mickey Mouse doesn't count. But look at this ground, ladies and gentlemen. Look, you can see right down into the
In the winter
town.
is the best time to come up here and see this by far.
You've got to try and imagine those trees not being there for a start.
It gives you an idea of the heights, though. You're almost eye level with Stafford Heights.
I mean, can you imagine those cannons booming away?
No, sir.
And I can see one of the church spires just through the trees here.
You see in St. George's Episcopal. Yep, is it the green one?
Yeah.
That'd be St. George's.
And yeah, and the sun's going down, ladies and gents. And we started this morning, if your memory serves you right, the sun was coming up, and now it's going down. And look at this.
And the assaults aren't done yet. We're not. What is it? Almost. What time? I might hear my phone. What time is it?
Mike, thank you very much. So Mike said, you guys have been great today.
Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you joining in, man. We do this for you guys for sure. Darren, what time are we looking at? What does it say? Oh, it doesn't say, does it?
We are looking at 23 minutes past 4.
So there's still 2 assaults to go. The fight isn't over yet. Now we obviously know the outcome. It's not a Union victory by any means.
What was the maximum range of a Confederate cannon
Rifled or
on
non-rifled?
Mary's Heights? Could they reach the river?
Rifled or non-rifled?
It doesn't say.
Doesn't say. Rifled, I'd say probably 1,200. Close to the same with a smoothbore if you're firing out of a Napoleon 12-pounder. Depends on what they had. I was actually talking to one of the people here at the park a few minutes ago about a shot that I think may or may not have actually happened. Well, we know that there was a shot through this tannery, but it's Edward Porter Alexander, and he writes about being with Moody's battery and skipping a cannonball or a shell into one of the loopholes, as they called it. And the position that he has Moody's battery at is here, actually, kind of where we're at, a little off to the right. But it doesn't line up exactly with what he's saying is happening. But Noel actually turned me on to that story, and it's been phenomenal ever since. So I'm still investigating and still trying to source together some information to corroborate that. But yeah, like I said, anywhere between 1,200 and 1,000, specifically if it's rifled, maybe a little more than that if it's captured. There's so many variants to go into that question, but it was a very good question nonetheless. I want to see we can point out Chatham Manor from here. I used to be able to, and I don't know.
I can't see over the top of the trees there. It's, I mean, it's in that direction, isn't it?
It is indeed. It's actually
Behind the churches, yeah. But
barely
those
see it. It's
fern trees are so tall you can't see over the top.
Yeah, it's hard to see it.
I mean, if you was to probably go up onto this mound, you probably could.
Probably. Let me see. Why not? Not like we're on a science street, right?
Yeah.
Walk around this way for a minute. Sure do.
Yeah, I can see it.
Right there.
It's poking right through the trees just there. There we go. There's the Unfiltered Historian Point.
You got it on the camera too?
I did.
Cool. I'm glad they can see that. Yeah, Chatham Manor's right there. So, if, Todd, to answer your question, if we were here 159 years ago today, Burnside would be looking straight at us and we'd be looking straight at him through some field glasses. Very visible. Now, it wasn't like that at Chatham, though, again, because I told you about some of the buildings and stuff. We weren't able to really see into the heights here. You can see approximately where that flagpole is up there from Chatham, but you can't necessarily see about where we're walking. Maybe if you had a good telescopic lens or something, you might be able to. Where we're headed now is the Willis family cemetery, which is predating the Battle of Fredericksburg, actually. And this is the part of the battle that I was telling you has some more shell damage. So again, we get to see physical remnants of the Battle of Fredericksburg, whether it be the first or the second battle. Now, this here in front of us, the shell hole that we're about to come up on, was done either during the first battle or the second battle. I would greatly assume the first battle, but it could be anyone's guess because they did have some artillery in the town during the second battle. Just to show you some of the damage that this thing causes to it. No pun there. It's pockmarked with bullets or fragments of a shell, and there could be a number of things. Some of them are too small to be bullet holes per se. But this sucker right here is sure as hell not a bullet.
Wow.
Isn't that insane? There you go, ladies and gents. That is remnants of the battle.
Can you point to Chamberlain 7-Eleven?
Well, we're going to conclude this.
Slurpee,
I'm
please.
going to get a Slurpee tonight from 7-Eleven on our way out of here, and I'm going to go live for a few seconds just to show you guys where Chamberlain was at.
Look at this.
I thought that would be a fun way to end today.
And I'll show you inside the cemetery. The family cemetery.
There's some Revolutionary War veterans in there. If you look over here, do you see that marker? Looks like a GAR marker almost. That is actually a Revolutionary War veteran.
Wow.
Want to go and see?
Yeah, let's go.
So this is again the Willis family cemetery. A lot of the stones are very old. And it's hard to read anything on these, but it's just a beautiful cemetery.
Oh, there we go.
George Washington Lewis and Catherine Dangerfield. George Washington Lewis is an American Revolutionary vet. Colonel Bird Willis, 1781, dies October 1846. Beautiful cemetery this is. If you guys do come to Fredericksburg, make sure you pop in here. And
Don't get it confused with the soldiers one.
Oh, we're going to see that next.
Yeah, that's a separate one. This was for just the family.
As we walk through the National Cemetery, I'll speak a little bit, but out of respect, I'm going to try to keep my speaking to a minimum.
I think so.
I should have done that here.
I think that would be a fitting way to end the day.
I just want to talk a little bit about the gravestones and the numbers on the gravestones and what they say.
And, you know, it's a painful day.
It is a painful day for a lot of folks. After you, sir.
Thank you.
How
you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. So that was the Willis family cemetery, folks. That was a cemetery, again, owned by the Willis family. The namesake of the hill here, Willis Hill. Not to be confused with Marye's Heights over next door. That brings us to the cemetery. The Fredericksburg National Cemetery was established in 1866. And what McGraw so eloquently terms the skeleton hunt, because that's virtually what that was. 4 battles that take place here, producing 100,000 casualties, killed, wounded, and missing. Quite a cleanup to do. And this cemetery houses the Union casualties from all 4 battles. And there is some stellar views when we get closer to the end of the cemetery. The cemetery itself is just absolutely gorgeous. It's been terraced as well. So if you come to visit the cemetery and you're driving up, you might notice it looks like stairs. That was to accommodate the number of bodies that had to be put into their cemetery on top of the military honors burials that take place post-war. But here we are in the National Cemetery, folks.
Wow.
Now, I'll have you guys start looking at some of the grave markers here. You'll see 6614 being the plot number. You can show them 6614 for me. And we're going to take a walk just down here after you're done with that one. Note that there's a separate number on this one. There's a 4. That is to denote how many unknown remains are inside of that. So every time you walk past one of these stones and you see a plot number and another number underneath, just to signify how many unknown soldiers are buried underneath. And sometimes, as grim as this is going to sound, that's only some body parts that were able to be collected, whether it be a couple bones of, their arms, their leg, a skull, whatever it might be. This is one of the largest cemeteries that features unknowns. I believe we have an 85% unknown rating up here. I don't remember the numbers exactly. I think it was out of, we can only possibly identify out of 15,000, like 1,300. Something in that number. I am mistaken. Don't quote me on it, but it's astronomical. And there's so many factors as to why there are only a few identifiable people here. The horrors of the wilderness in Spotsylvania Courthouse, Fredericksburg, the ice house in Federal Hill that was discovered in 1866. That there are 98 bodies stuffed in the ice house from the December 1862 battle. I mean, they're not going to be the most recognizable creatures in the world. We do have
another question from
Absolutely.
Todd, and I think I could probably answer this myself, but I'll let you do it. So,
No,
how long did the pontoons stay in place at the river crossings?
Good question.
Were they the same pontoon bridges used in both battles? Well, I know they wasn't the same. They are the same, but they're pulled back up. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are, some of them are floated downstream.
Mm-hmm. And how long are they there after first Fredericksburg?
The 16th, I believe.
So they pull them up and then they bring them back down for second Fred and
Some
put
get
them
just
back out.
completely sent
Mhm.
over, so they're not usable anymore. I want you to note here there are 9 bodies just in these 2 plots right
Wow.
now.
And look at how many stones there are, ladies and gents.
And they
Look at this.
have
This is just, but this is not just from the Battle of Fredericksburg, is it? Like you were saying, and I think it's mentioned in Chris Mikowski and Christopher White's Simply Murder book at the end about all the remains, or one of the books where they're all brought here, like you said. And what's her name, Meg?
There are burial trenches too that Noel writes about, and he's giving me some more updated information on those burial trenches. But I think there are 2 that are from the Fredericksburg battle. So, Noel, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're my expert on this here.
And again, you remember how many battlefields are in this little area. And the war doesn't go away. It doesn't go away from this area. They have to put up with this hellish situation for a long time.
That's beautiful view right there.
It is, yeah. Look at this. Again, we end with the sun going down.
And at this point, again, I did say I'm going to keep talking to a minimum. I just want you guys to walk with us, enjoy the cemetery, and we'll enjoy it by remembering. These are fathers, brothers, and sons who did not make it home, who left that empty chair that we all talk so much about at the family dinner table. Some of them laying with a number as the only identifiable feature. Their families don't know what happened to it. Check out the boxwood. Massachusetts, he's an Irish brigade.
And again, am I right in saying, Tyler, the Irish Brigade never recover from Fredericksburg?
No.
And Antietam, like in close proximity to each other, as in the battles. They both times attack one of the worst parts of the battlefield.
They did. And I want to note something too. This was all owned now by the Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania National Military Park, who is one of the most wonderful organizations in the entire world. Maybe a little biased saying that, but I have so much love for this organization. And they released a new audio tour today, which is super exciting, which we're going to have to try out tomorrow. I think we might try that at Chancellorsville or Fredericksburg and see what we can get out of it. But I do want you guys to all try to get that audio tour downloaded at the MPS.gov. You can search Fredericksburg audio tour, and it should pop up for you. We were just notified today that that was created, so a very exciting process. Now, I'm not doing this to be comical. I just want to show you guys a very interesting name. 159. That's cool.
Oh, wow. Whoever left that, thank you very much.
That's beautiful. Again, this isn't to be comical, but it's a very interesting name that I had to give to, or when I was giving tours, I had to try to deviate away from, but at this point, I'm just accepting it. This stone. Do you see the name?
Uh-huh. Well, there you go.
Go ahead and show them there. Gentleman from Connecticut. I had a lot of elementary schoolers ask me about that.
There we go.
And it's not funny, unfortunately. You know, it's an interesting last name. It is kind of sought after grave here in the cemetery. The Unfiltered story. But obviously, this gentleman was rather brave because he lies with some of the best our country's ever produced.
And as this day dawns to an end, just remember all of those lives
Absolutely.
that died. All
We'll
those
finish
people,
our
sorry.
video
And again, we'll be back tomorrow doing something in Central Virginia.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Don't end just yet. I want to show them this.
no, we're not going to. No, definitely not.
I have a personal story up here.
Okay.
My great-great-grandfather was captured during the Second Battle of Fredericksburg at the corner of this cemetery, before it was a cemetery. And they actually have the only monument up here to a Confederate battery, any Confederate at all, and it's the Parker's Battery. But also just the view from on this side of the cemetery is my favorite. Look out on town now.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Go ahead and give them a view yet. I'll walk a little bit. Take it in for yourself too. We ate dinner down there, or breakfast down there.
We did. And I'll tell you now, guys, if you come to get Fredericksburg, I need to say Gettysburg then, sorry. Fredericksburg, make sure you go to that cafe, because that breakfast was amazing.
And it's a shame that those are going up.
That really frustrates me.
Yeah, I have choice words for it.
What yeah. I have a few British words that I'd like to say when I switch off the camera. That's what I'm going to call it.
Listen, don't worry.
Yeah, you know what one I'm talking about.
I probably do, yeah.
Yeah.
But folks, this is, like I said, a very special cemetery. When I did my internship up here, I actually would bring a book and a water bottle up to work. I'd sit up on this bench right here and read chapters of whatever I was studying at the time. There's no better way in this world to focus on what you're studying and sitting up in a place that you love and care about so much. And the sacrifice these men made that allowed for such a place like this to exist, for us to reflect on things like that. And it's never gotten old. I don't think it ever will. This walk never gets old.
None of it will
It never
ever
gets
get
less
old.
powerful.
Yeah. It's just amazing.
Fredericksburg 159.
Yeah, it's been amazing, yeah. And now I can see why I missed the other two trips, because I was meant to come to this trip.
Yeah,
And that's the end of that.
that was decided.
And in actual fact, I'm going to get to see more because I've got more time on my hands.
Got a whole week of us.
Whereas if I'd have gone to, although I really wanted to go to the symposium, don't get me wrong, but if I'd have gone to the symposium, I wouldn't have been able to cram so much in.
Those symposiums,
But they are pretty damn special. And Central Virginia Battlefields Trust, again, let's give another massive shout out. So you might have noticed that today we was offline for 2 hours, and that was because we stopped by the office and we had an amazing 2-hour chat with Terry Rensel.
check this out.
Wow.
This is the position of Parker's Battery. 2 guns will be placed here during the second battle. under Lieutenant J. Thompson Brown, who has a funny thing happen to him. He actually has a shell explode on the dirt around him that sends that dirt flying up into his face like shrapnel. My great-great-grandfather pens in his diary that it looks as though he has smallpox due to the amount of dirt that actually embedded itself in his face. Well, long story short, Union troops come sweeping up this hill that the Confederates can't point their guns down far enough to shoot. And they're captured. And Edward Samuel Duffy, who is my great-great-grandfather, was actually captured and sent to Point Lookout. Traded and made it just in time for Gettysburg.
Wow.
Those heights? Telegraph Hill.
That is Telegraph Hill. That is where Lee nearly came a cropper, shall I say, twice. Not once, but twice. So you might recall in the movie Gods and Generals a cannon blowing up in one of the scenes. Well, that apparently actually happened. And there is another instance where Lee nearly got hit by a shell. And so he actually moved his headquarters after that, a bit further back.
Second Battle of Fredericksburg actually sees Lee's Hill, or Telegraph Hill, set afire with the blood that's up there to try and stymie those Union troops that are about to assault. So, a lot of unique things happening twice in Fredericksburg.
And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start with, this is an exclusive because it's literally just popped in my brain and Tyler doesn't know about it yet, but we are starting at Salem Church tomorrow morning. And we're going to cover a little, because again, going back to Terry Rensel, he's actually, he's lent us something very special and we're going to show you guys.
And we're
And again, another plug to Central Virginia Battlefields Trust. Please go and support your local trust. They need your support in purchasing this land back and stopping this monstrosity here.
And we'll learn more about the monstrosity of encroaching development on the battlefield tomorrow.
When you see Salem Church and what we've got, you're going to be like, oh my God.
And some of you may have seen my video on Salem Church a few months ago.
Yes, I certainly did.
What was it, the other church? Massaponic.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, it was a powerful experience to do that one, and I really look forward to returning, because even though I live on the Salem Church battlefield, I have not been back to Salem Church since I filmed that video. And it would be nice to spend that day with you, so I'm excited for that.
Wow, I've just had an amazing day, and I just want to thank the Unfiltered historian for, being so kind. And giving us all this information, ladies and gentlemen, because if you didn't know, Tyler was actually an intern for the Park Service. Is that correct?
I was.
And you see this little house down here? That's
where
where Tyler lived.
I did, and it was...
So you understand now why he's so damn knowledgeable about it.
And I want to thank the National Park Service for giving me the opportunity to ever be the Unfiltered historian. The way that ended up being is because of the experiences I had here and the friends that I've made, and just the memories and the amount of time I've been able to dedicate to studying and really understanding this battlefield. It would not have been possible without them. So this battlefield wouldn't have been safe without them.
And
they mean a lot to me.
I do remember you telling me when I'm having breakfast that there is a 5th Corps monument here. So can we please have a quick look? Is it over?
Yeah, the tree was messing with me.
Yeah. Because, I am in the 5th Corps. I'm the 4th US Infantry regular.
Yeah, we're going to
The regulars are the best. They never retreat with their backs to the enemy. They retreat in good order. Ladies and gents, good order.
First US.
Don't start, otherwise I'll have to start the 4th chant, won't I?
I don't know if I was chanting or just letting you know the first United States sharpshooters.
Yeah. I can't believe this was your backyard.
Front yard. My backyard was no, you're good. The backyard was actually some interesting stone or some cemetery headstones that were crammed together to make more room. You'll see how these are spaced apart. When we get down here, I want you to look over to the left and see how crammed together some of these are.
Oh, yeah.
Because they ran out of room again, and they had to find ways to accommodate for the room that they ran out of. So they even start terracing on behind the house here.
In actual fact, going back to Meg, I actually bought a Audible book that she wrote for Emerging Civil War, and I still haven't got round to it yet, but now you've mentioned this again.
There's a whole chapter.
The third time I've heard about all the remains being bought here. I'm now going to have to go and listen to that podcast or that book.
We'll also, before we conclude, we'll actually take a walk down the Sunken Road till we get to the airport. These are what I was telling Darren, how crammed together these stones are.
And Gemma Mitchell, you're just about to see the 5th Corps monument at Willis Hill Cemetery.
She's 5th Corps too, right?
She is our second sergeant,
today.
sorry.
Wow.
And do you know what? Tyler used to literally fall out of bed there and end up in the battlefield cafe for breakfast.
That window
Look at
right
that.
there.
Look, he used to climb out the window. No, he didn't really.
There's 5th Corps monument right there, bud.
There we go. Right, I'll get a better look at it so we can see.
Dan Butterfield.
Dan Butterfield.
Porter, Hooker, Butterfield, Meade, Sykes, Warren, and Griffin. All those names sound familiar, right?
Yeah, and there is the badge. 5th Corps till we die, Gemma, yes. The 5th Corps of the Army of the Potomac, and in loving memory of the heroic dead.
In the presence of William McKinley, President of the United States.
Wow.
And the monument was dedicated by that lodge May 30th.
And is there anything you want to add before we wrap up today, Tyler? Because it's going to get dark in a minute very quickly.
I just want to add that if you haven't understood Fredericksburg, if you've never been, if you've never even read about it, maybe now is the time to pick up.
Yeah.
There are many books that I could throw your way, but I'm going to actually recommend 2 today that, for me, I'm really interested. Let's go this way for the crowd. I'm got a huge interest in stories. I love the stories of the human side of it. Not necessarily all the strategic movements and all those. I mean, they're interesting, they are. They're necessary in order to understand the battle. But 2 books have really, really drawn me into Fredericksburg. Before I go into that, I love the hitching post that is here. By the way,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a horse hitching post. And this wall actually has some cool history behind it too. It was built in the 1930s. And if
There we
anyone
go.
remembers what happens in the 1930s in the United States, there's something called the Great Depression.
When FDR takes his presidency, he creates quite a few plans in the New Deal organizations. One of them is the Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC. Well, this is done by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s, and it's supposed to replicate what the wall would have looked like on this sector of the battlefield. It's a really cool story there. Now back to our lovely books. First one is Winter War on the Rappahannock, the Fredericksburg Campaign, written by Francis O'Reilly, most known as Frank O'Reilly. Just if you're searching it, that's what you're going to remember. Second is very human interest based, and that's The Worst Place in Hell by John Madison. That book weaves together the lives of 5 individuals that you may know very well, and it explains how Fredericksburg connected them all in a way that you would probably never think they connected someone. It's a very touching story. It is one that, first book I've ever read that actually brought tears to my eyes. And, I've read a lot of books before that have almost brought me to that point, but this one had me seriously having to put the book down a few times because it was too real. It really sent something home to me. So that book, I can't recommend enough to everybody. It is just phenomenal. Folks, I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time today to honor these dead that died here at Fredericksburg and the surrounding battlefields that we talked about today. And we'll bring you guys plenty more content tomorrow to honor as many as we can. But you guys got to see the battlefield on the 159th anniversary and talk with us and walk with us and engage. And it has been tremendously an honor to do this with you guys. So thank you so much. And I really look forward to doing this more with you all and just
I second
tell
that.
their
I
story.
third that and I fourth that. There we go.
Guys, this has been the Fredericksburg 159th anniversary. I'm thirsty. I think I need a beer and
Yeah,
a cigar.
yeah,
What
definitely.
about you?
Oh, 100%.
All right. we're
And
gonna
I
wrap
think
up
I'm going to... What do you want to do? How do you want to finish?
just like this.
Okay, with
I
a
think
bit
this
of
is
quiet and just...
Walk the
Well,
road.
let's walk the road. And look at the nice wall. Thank you, Mike, for tuning in. And Todd as well.
Todd's one of the
Great to
greatest
see you,
people. I
Todd.
love
You're a very good supporter of our pages, and I want to thank you personally. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Todd, you're a fun person to take around the battlefield. I will tell you that. I had so much fun with you and Barry.
I think actually we should finish on the original part of the wall
You
again.
want to keep walking all the way down?
Yeah,
Or do you
come
want
on.
to show them the new battle painting down there?
Oh, actually, yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Not done yet.
Okay, we're not done yet, guys.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Do you want to show them this plaque too?
Yeah, let's show
All right.
the plaque.
This is one of my favorite views. We actually just stood up here and had this view on a modern day, but this is from where we were showing that Confederate monument in the cemetery.
Wow.
Stone wall,
Look at the difference.
Sunken Road,
Look at the
Stratton
difference.
House, your plane, St. George's. Chatham Manor.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
And that, it's just amazing.
The sky is beautiful.
It is going to, yes, it's going down. Red sky night, shepherd's delight, we like to say.
There we go. I've heard
There we
sailors
go.
say that too.
There we go.
Red sky in the morning, sailor's warning.
Yeah, or shepherd's warning, as we call it.
Okay. Sailor shepherd.
It's good to hear somebody else's take on something.
Right.
Definitely.
Ooh, it's got colder. coming
As
down
we,
here.
yeah, it has, yeah. As you know, Tyler, we have had so far in the day and a half I've been here, had a few conversations about different ways of saying things. Because as you know, ladies and gentlemen, and I am sorry, American guys, you do butcher the English language sometimes, and I think I'm going to have to
shots
teach you guys.
fired.
I think I'm going to have to teach you guys the Queen's English.
Shots fired.
Only joking. It's Caribbean, not Caribbean.
I learned something there today.
It's tomato, not tomato. No, the other way around.
No, you had it
I
right.
got it wrong.
You have it right.
Damn it. There you go,
You had
ladies
it
and
right.
gents.
It was-
You know, look, this is the Unfiltered Historian,
call
and we
it
go off on a
potato too?
tangent sometimes, so
Oh, do you call it potato or you call it potato?
potato.
Thank you.
obviously.
So why do you call it tomato?
So,
and not
because,
tomato?
but it would just do.
You just do. You don't just do. That's not it.
Yeah.
No. It hurts my brain, Darren.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And remember, guys, a really good bookstore there,
Absolutely. They've taken a lot of my money.
which
for
some of you
for the
probably have
best.
already been to. So is this the new one you're talking about over here? Oh, wow. Why did I not see that earlier?
As we were too engrossed with going to see the other stuff. But yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
want to talk about this painting for a
Wow,
second.
wow, wow,
because
wow.
I used to give tours with the old painting, and it was kind of a pain to do because it didn't show the entire southern end of the battlefield. But yeah, go ahead and give them a second to look through that because I think that's
So-
one of the best.
You are here, right here. And the canal we was talking about, which on part of it is now covered up by tarmac.
Asphalt in America.
Yeah. And just for you 4th US Infantry guys, this
That's
is
the
where they got to. That's where they got hunkered down. 3rd US Infantry in this cemetery here. Is that right, Tyler?
Yes, sir.
Where is the 20th Main where you can get your Slurpee?
You know what? You want to go show them?
Yeah, but we might have to go off and then come back on again because I don't know how. Is it far to walk?
It's right there.
Oh, okay, let's go.
I just need to, I would have to turn my phone off to turn
Yeah,
my card on.
you
So
would.
never mind. We'll just go
Never
live
mind,
when I get
yeah.
my Slurpee in the
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
I'll do a live in the car.
And there is Telegraph Hill, which is up there. Sorry, I'm pointing that way.
That's right.
Behind there. Remember, this railroad's quite important as well.
It is.
And where was we earlier today? Well, we was here.
Slaughter Pen Farm.
Look at this. And look at this. This is amazing. Look at all the troops coming across the pontoon bridges.
That's the
and they're
lower
bringing the
crossing,
wagons
yeah.
as well. Look.
So we have lower crossing here, middle crossing here, and upper pontoon crossing here. I love how it depicts too the
Chatham
boats
Mansion.
being half complete when the assaults are taking place. That's the Michiganders taking their boats across into the beachhead we talked about, that first riverine crossing under fire, and you can see just sort of that depicted there. I think it's wonderful to see
Look at
that. Very cool. We got some Confederate artillery fire.
And is Pelham's Corner up on here? Where is Pelham?
He is right
There.
It's over here.
Yeah. Have some of that, eh? Look at that. What a painting. Well done, guys, for putting
And
that
then
up.
this is the perspective of looking up. This is actually the ice house I was talking about earlier that had
yeah,
98
yeah.
bodies, and when this was photographed, they were down under that.
Oh my God.
Because that was photographed in 1864. Yep.
Where we was?
That's right, we were inside the Innes house.
Stevenson's house. Sunken
it doesn't mention
Sunken Road.
Stratton House is right here.
Brompton. Mary's Heights, as Tyler said. This section, not this section.
Barry, thank you so much, man. I'm glad you got to tune in here. All right. right, folks. Well, I think
Well,
this
yeah.
is a good place to end our main segment.
Yeah.
I will take a
Okay.
picture of my memorial Slurpee here.
Yeah,
and
and
we're
we'll
gonna
yeah.
go celebrate with some Slurpees.
Yeah, yeah.
Thirsty, like crazy.
Do you know what, guys? I've been absolutely overwhelmed with the welcome I've received in this day and a half I've been here, and I'm absolutely touched. So, thank you very much, Virginia.
It's been an honor. Thank you all
And
so much
Tyler,
for tuning in. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you all very, very soon, hopefully tomorrow, very early at Salem Church.
Have a good one.
Goodbye.